And this is in all seriousness, KL is that good to the point that we are seriously considering moving here in the future. G'day everyone, it's Jimmy.
I'm Pauline.
And we're from Mitch's on the Horizon. It was such a nice day today, we thought we'd film this video outside for better or worse. So today's video is going to be on our first impressions of Kuala Lumpur. We are a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 children. And yeah, we're going to talk about our experience in KL and what we thought of it. The thing we noticed when we first came to KL is how friendly people were. Everyone.
Everyone. From Grab drivers, people in the shopping centre, to the person you talk to at the counter, they're all friendly. Yes, shy at the start, but if they know English, they will try and speak to you.
And a lot of people went out of their way to actually make us feel at home, which we really appreciated. They came over and just checked to see how we were going, asked where we were from.
Just want to have a conversation, needed to know like, oh, why are you here? How long are you here for? What are you doing? Like, are you traveling? Are you living here? Do you have kids? They just wanted to know everything about you.
I like to test our boundaries and put our boys and test their limits of what they're comfortable with. And one of the things we did is we went and said hello to a lot of people. So saying hello, hello, hello. Every single person we spoke to, or like we said hello to, said hello back, which was very rare. We've traveled a lot through Southeast Asia, and I would say in Malaysia, Malaysians are some of the most friendliest people that we've met up until this point. Another good example of this is I got some stuff that I needed delivered by Lazada. And the Lazada driver, it was my fault. I put the wrong address on the Lazada postage form, and the Lazada driver called me up and he drove 2 blocks out of his way to make sure that I got my package, because I said, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to, it was the wrong address. And he's like, it's okay, where are you? And dropped it off. I think in a lot of countries that wouldn't happen. They would have been like, oh, I'm not getting paid to do this, sorry, I'm not delivering it.
So Jimmy had left to go back to Melbourne for a few days, and I was with the kids by myself. We were walking around Jaya Grocer, and as always, the kids were like, Mum, can I have this? Mum, what are you looking at? Can I go look at this? And this guy Henry overheard me speaking in English, and he actually went out of his way to come and talk to myself and the kids, and he had every time he saw us, he'd have another story, he'd have another magic trick, and he just wanted to talk to us every single time we went there.
Coming from Australia, I can assure you that's not the case in Australia. So very lucky. That's the very first thing I noticed as soon as we landed was that.
Yeah.
The second thing we have here is that we feel incredibly safe, way safer than we do in Australia.
Yeah.
To be fair, for the most part
Majority of it is, yeah. Just an example from the other day. So we got here to Ipoh. We were wandering around with all of our luggage because our room wasn't ready until later on that day. We had to kill some time. We went to an arcade. We parked all of our luggage halfway down the arcade. We found a gap between some machines, and we put 4 bags, our 2 laptop bags as well, and a camera bag, and we had no issues. We really didn't have to watch them. You really weren't worried that they were just sitting there and that someone was going to wheel them away.
We used to have to walk 1.5 kilometres to this gym that we were going to.
Yeah.
We'd finish at like 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, and we're walking down streets that have no lights.
No lights.
I felt so safe.
Tiny little alleyways, cars would pull up, motorbikes would pull up behind you to see, like, to make their way around you, and still nothing, they just go on their way.
And I think this leads into the first thing that I really picked up when we first got to KL, and that was that Malaysians are very proud of their country. And I think the safety side of it,
extremely proud.
Yeah, extremely proud of their country, which is awesome to see. So every single Grab driver wanted to tell us where to go, you know, things to see, things to do, because they are very proud of where they come from.
Yes.
And I immediately noticed that, because you don't see that in Australia very much. You know, people are out there cleaning the streets, you know, putting flags up and things like that, just because they're very proud to be Malaysian and they're very proud to be from Kuala Lumpur. The fourth one is super interesting, and it's something that may not notice at the start, but we definitely noticed it about 3 days in, was that no one honks their horn.
And they are extremely impatient in traffic. However, they do not honk that horn.
No.
They do not honk their horn.
Considering KL is a big city and there's a lot of cars on the road, and this ties into something we're going to talk about soon. There's a lot of cars on the road and it's not really a walking city. No one honks their horn. There was people cutting in front of each other.
They will drive down a left-hand turning arrow section on the road. They will drive down the left-hand turn, but they want to go straight. So they'll get all the way to the end of the left-hand turn, and then they'll just ease their way back into traffic.
Why this is really interesting and not common is because if you go to any other country in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Philippines, the honking, it's reverse. The honking is the sign that you've acknowledged someone's going to come in. It's not done from an act of aggression.
No.
It's just people honk.
Yeah.
Over
I'm here, Hong Kong.
KL, Malaysian people don't honk at each other.
They really don't.
It's really odd. There's more honking in Australia than there is here, and there's way less cars. This ties into the next thing about the first impression we got of KL, and that is KL is not disabled friendly or really pedestrian friendly. I mean, there is some parts of KL that are, like KLCC is really quite walkable, but we were staying in Subang Jaya and you really do need a car to get around. And if you don't have a car, if you're in a wheelchair, you'd really be stuck because as you walk along, the footpaths are all different heights and there's cracks in them and they're broken.
You would have to be on the road constantly. You could not be on the footpath, and every shop has their own type of flooring, but then the next shop could be down this, and then it's just steps, but they're not the standard steps. There could be just one big step, there could be two little steps, there could be a ramp. Nothing is the same across the board.
Which is not a good thing or bad thing, it is just what it is, but it's something to be conscious of. If you are maybe can't walk that well, or you're in a wheelchair, you're going to be mentally prepared to be using grabs and getting around in taxis a lot. It's just something to think about.
It's definitely something to be aware of.
Okay, the next more funnier thing that we noticed coming to KL is that Malaysians have an obsession with malls, and I think it's good. I like, it's not a bad thing. I think it's just interesting.
It's kind of like a sport over here.
It is. And it's a good, like, I can understand why. It's hot, it's humid, and it rains a lot.
Yeah. So you go to the mall because it's got aircon, right?
It's got aircon. There's food there. There's things to do.
You walk around. You have a look.
But where we were staying in Subang Jaya, there was 5 malls within 500 meters of us.
There was malls everywhere.
And for our Malaysian friends that are watching this, let me give you some context. In Australia, you might have one mall within a 20-kilometer radius of you.
A big mall.
A big mall.
Big mall.
And as an Australian, it's really odd to come to a country where you can just go out of where you're staying and walk 3 blocks and go to a mall. It's really odd because also the malls in Australia you have to drive to. They're not near residential areas. So it's just a really interesting observation. There was seriously 5 malls within 500 meters of us, and we went to all of them. Compared to the rest of Southeast Asia, something I immediately noticed is that the English is really good here in Kuala Lumpur and in Malaysia in general. The English is amazing, actually. It makes KL one of the best starting off points for a traveller that hasn't really travelled to Asia much, in my opinion. You can fumble your way through most conversations with broken English and get to where you need to go. Whereas if you were to start your journey through Southeast Asia with kids or with a family in, say, Vietnam, you're going to really struggle with the difference in language barrier. Whereas we really haven't struggled with the difference.
We might have ended up with the wrong meal here and there, or something like that, but nothing that could have gotten us into danger or that's unsafe, that kind of stuff. Just you end up with a funny meal at the end of it.
100%. And they make for great adventures, and I think ultimately, like I said, if anyone is thinking of traveling, KL is a great place to start, and not just come here for a day or two, spend a couple of weeks here. KL is more than KLCC.
There are so many things to do.
See and do, and it's such a beautiful city. So the next thing I've got in here, and I think everyone that talks about their first impressions of KL will talk about this, and that's the food. I would argue one of the best places in the world when it comes to food, but
there is just a mecca of night markets and hawkers stalls and
just
little restaurants, and there's just every cuisine that you could possibly think of.
And I know it gets talked about a lot, but it's something that I personally immediately noticed. It's not necessarily that the food is good or bad, it's better. And the reason I think it's better is because there's so much more quality and effort put into it. You watch the effort that people put into making their food.
So you just watch how many condiments that they have stationed out the front of their stall that goes with each individual dish. So you get crushed peanuts, you get a bit of salt, you get some chili flakes, whatever it is. They're very meticulous in what they put on your dish.
And measuring it out.
And then they still even bring you stuff with that meal for you to put extra stuff on it, because you never know what you might want on it, but they have curated it to the point that they give it to you, and then they let you go with whatever you want on there.
And I think that's what it is. I think it's a combination of how much effort and attention goes into the food and making sure that it tastes the best that it can. Considering how little relative you're paying for the food than, say, in Australia, the quality is so much better because there's just more love.
More love and effort.
Way more love put into the food here. There's such an amazing diversity of food too. Because the ethnic culture of Malaysia is so diverse, you can get pretty much any type of food.
Anything. You can get full-on Western meals to Indian to Malaysian, every possible cuisine, Japanese. I can't list them all, but they are all literally here.
And where it works really well is like you can go to a food court or you can go to a hawker's market, and I can order something really spicy because I enjoy it, and who don't like spices, we can order them something that's less spicy from another cuisine, all in one place. Like I said, there's food for everyone.
Yep.
If you love spice, obviously this is the home of spice. You know,
Yep.
Malaysia and KL are well known for their spicy food.
Yep.
That's really good quality. That's got a lot of love and attention to it.
Yep.
So just a bonus one here, guys. Compared to Australia, we'll just wait for this to finish.
Whatever that noise is,
Yeah,
yes.
someone's letting off air.
Oh, we're right across from a tyre
Yeah, we're
place.
across from a tyre shop.
That's probably why.
Just for context, compared to Australia, everything closes at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Here, everything's open late.
10 a.m.
That's another impression I got.
1 a.m.
One of the things we had to adjust to coming to Malaysia is getting up later, and we're having dinner and lunch and breakfast way later. It's
Because
good.
nothing's open.
Because nothing's open.
Breakfast, unless you want chicken and rice for breakfast, nothing is open until 10 o'clock.
There's nothing wrong with that,
There's
of course.
nothing wrong with that.
It's just an interesting observation and just something we've adjusted to as we've spent some time here in Malaysia. So yeah, guys, that was our list that we made of our initial first impressions. I mean, overall, our first impression, and this is in all seriousness, KL is that good to the point that we are seriously considering moving here in the future. That's how nice KL is as a kicking off point and going, as far as a country we could live in, this could be it. That you think anyone else could benefit from, leave it in the comments. We'll make a future video. And also, if there's anything you think that we should be doing as travelers here in Southeast Asia, let us know in the comments too. We'd love to hear your opinions. Is there some places that people should try? Is there some food? Is there something you disagree with on the list? Add it in the comments, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. So, as always, guys, I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Pauline.
And we'll catch you all on the
horizon.
horizon.